Hi, this is Matt, co founder of Second Paths, where we help people discover their potential for a global life. And this is Second Voices, an opportunity to hear stories from dual citizens and others about their citizenship journeys, families, and more. Today we're speaking with Antonio, an Italian American dual citizen. His parents were born in Italy, and he spent many summers there while growing up. He has a great perspective on what it means to truly live the life of a dual citizen, so let's hear what he has to say. How you doing, Antonio?
I'm good, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. We're really excited to hear about your story. So tell me more about your family. You're Italian, right?
Yeah, so I was born in New York City to Italian parents. They both met and grew up born in Italy. My mom is from Lake Como. My dad's from southern Italy in Calabria. And essentially, they moved to the United States in the late 1980s, to New York specifically, and they decided to stay. And in 1995, when I was born, they wanted to get me citizenship as well. So they had me naturalized as, as their son. And it was, basically before I even knew that dual citizenship was a thing, I was a dual citizen of Italy and the United States. So yeah. And then we started visiting Italy pretty regularly when I was a
Okay.
kid. Um,
What? How many? When did you start? At what age did you start going over there? And was it just for summers?
Yeah, I think the first time that I went was shortly before 2000 for like my first trip, but I barely remember that because it was just
Hmm.
like first time on an airplane. It was a horrible experience. And then also just being, weirded out by actually meeting family members for the first time, because my
Yeah.
entire family stayed in Italy. So it's just the three of us here. Um, but yeah, it would become a regular thing, and every summer or every other summer would be pretty much 4 to 6 weeks in either northern Italy or southern Italy. And then I think coming up on maybe 2005 was when I had to renew my citizenship.
Okay.
And then I had to go to the consulate with my parents in New York and do that whole like rigmarole to
Gotcha.
have it renewed. And now it's up for
Okay.
renewal again because it's been 10 years. So, yeah.
So in terms of the process of getting your citizenship, it sounds like in the beginning, your parents took care of most of the paperwork for you, right?
That's
Yeah.
correct. Yeah.
But you just had to do something for when you had to renew it.
Yeah. So for when we had to renew it, I think in 2005, we went and got an appointment at the consulate in Manhattan, waited a long time in their lobby, and then I had to take new photos and they just gave me like, I think we just had to pay like the $130 or whatever it was to renew. For the last time that I did in 2015, that one was also by appointment, and
Mm.
it was really funny because we went to the consulate that day and we were just going over our information, but we're Italian, so we were just chatting with the lady there because she's also Italian, and just casually forgot that my middle name is on my American passport. So everything else was correct except for my middle name being omitted. So when we got the passport in the
Oh
mail,
man.
they called us and said, "Hey, this is not valid because it doesn't match your American passport." And I said, "Isn't that your job to remember that you should ask if I have a middle name or not?" So we had to pay the fee again, and I had to get it printed again. So that was like the only thing that was a little bit annoying. But other than that, it was a pretty smooth process. I'm sure attempting to get your dual citizenship as an adult is probably much more difficult.
Yeah, definitely the bureaucratic aspect of it is a very tricky thing. A lot of people get caught up on making sure the names match, all the details match, because they will catch you there.
Hmm.
But at least how long did it take you to get an appointment? Because sometimes that's an issue too.
Well, the funny thing about that consulate for the Italian consulate is, well, the last time that I tried to get an appointment, which was back in 2015, I don't know if they changed it now, but you called this number on their website, and then the number says when you get something like you get a response, an automated response, and it says this number is not being monitored. Please email us at whatever. And then they ask you, they give you like an appointment date that you have to show up with all the information. But you can't like talk to a person and like
Hmm.
get it done. So it's basically via email, which is a little
Were
bit
they
frustrating. But
were they at least quick to respond?
um, I actually don't recall how fast it took them to respond because
Hmm.
I wasn't doing the process in like it wasn't an urgent thing that I needed. It was kind of
I
like,
see.
oh, we'll send the email and we have to renew it within 6 months, so it's like it doesn't matter. But I do recall doing a study abroad in college in 2016, and there were many people that I went to school with that decided to study abroad in Italy, and they of course had to get a visa, and
Hmm.
because they wanted to stay for 4 months or a year, and they were complaining to me all the time about how there was lack of quick responses from the Italian consulate. So it's definitely a thing when you go there to
Yeah.
just do it as early as you can. Don't wait
Yeah.
until the last minute because they're not going to move any faster for you.
That's really good advice.
Mhm.
We usually encourage people to start as soon as possible. Also,
Yeah.
um, so tell me more about your life in Italy. You had 4 to 6 weeks there. Sounds like almost every year.
Mhm.
What did you do while you were there? What do you see as like your favorite part about growing up with that experience? And then how does that continue into today?
So yeah, just great question. I mean, it's a really reflective moment for me just because as a kid going there and getting used to speaking Italian, my first language was Italian, but speaking to my parents was different from trying to speak Italian in front of my family, who also were all way better Italian speakers than me, obviously. But it was an interesting experience because I had cousins there, if like close family. Didn't have that here, still don't have that here, right? Everyone still lives in Italy for me and my family, except for my I still live at home with my parents. It was interesting making friends and then watching all my younger cousins grow up because I would just see them once a year. So they would just
Hmm.
get a little bit taller and they'd have more friends and their friends got taller and just like it was a surreal experience kind of pressing pause on a life there and then coming back, unpausing it, and it would be like I never left. It's like seeing a best friend that you haven't talked to in 5 years and just picking up where you left off. But it's a whole life there.
Yeah.
And that over the course of 10 years was obviously very, you know, emotionally taxing after a while because I just go for the summer and then, in 2018 I joined the workforce, so I would go less frequently or just not for as long. And then, I have one cousin that decided to go to school in this other part of Italy, and then maybe an aunt and uncle get divorced or separated, so then they're in different cities, and then you just
Hmm.
realize like, oh, it's not going to be like when I was a kid. It's never going to be like that again, right? And you kind
Yeah.
of have to
Yeah.
appreciate that you had that experience at all because some people don't have that opportunity. Um,
That's totally true. And,
yeah.
and actually, I relate a lot to what you're saying because I had a very similar life growing up, but with my parents being Mexican, we went to
Uh-huh.
visit Mexico almost every year,
Uh-huh.
and had the same thing with like things kind of skipping ahead almost a little bit. But
Is
but
your
it
whole
was a
family
super.
still in Mexico?
Yeah, well, that my dad's side
Uh-huh.
is all there, and luckily stuck together very tightly. So I still visit maybe once every 3 to 4 years,
Okay, that's
and
good.
get to see all of them, and it's a very special experience. But like you said, having that even as don't want to just call it a memory, but like
Uh-huh.
the whole thing growing up. Is there do you have plans to visit again in the near future?
So the last time that I went was 2023 for Thanksgiving because I had like some time off and I just took the whole week basically. I did like a bridge. Um, what I would like to do, I have two ideas. One, I would like to do a reunion trip with my cousins. But that's like tough because one of them is in like medical school and then the other ones are just kind of all over the place. So it would be kind of like I would just have to organize it and then obviously I'm fortunate that like I live in a high cost of living city, so any salary I make is
Hmm.
obviously going to be way more than anything that they're making, and they're all
Mm,
younger than me, so they get like jobs at restaurants and stuff like that. So it's not like I can just be like, let's go to Sardinia for a week and stay at the beach. Like they can't do that. So,
I see. Yeah.
that just kind of understanding that dynamic as well. I have that idea that I would like to do just to reconnect with all of them because there's three cousins, no, four cousins that I haven't seen in 7 years because we would go to southern Italy less frequently and less often. So the last time I
Hmm.
visited them was before I even started working full time.
I see.
So that's kind of sad. My other idea is I am into rock climbing, and there's this trip that was advertised to me and my group of friends that climb as well, to go to Sardinia and do a sailboat tour of the island for 8 days. And it was like a flat fee with flights and everything. That's something I would like to do because I've never been to Sardinia, and it would just be like nice to explore a different part of Italy. And that's where another friction exists, where I have this desire to see my family, but then also try something different because I spent so many years going to the same places. So it's like,
Yeah.
what is this? Should I be selfish or should I be selfless and do something that would benefit both of us, like my family? Like, what's more important, my family or just taking a vacation? Like, so
Yeah. Yeah.
that's a struggle that I have regularly when I think about visiting. And then I just
I
kind of
see.
get fed up and I'm like, just won't go.
Well, you should. I
Um,
mean, I think as a personal experience, maybe you do deserve to kind of be a tourist for once.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Yeah.
What do you think now that you don't go quite as often,
hmm
but still have that attachment to those people?
hmm
How does that influence your daily life at all? Like being a Italian American dual citizen?
Um, well, I'd say it's more when people that I meet find out that I am actually like Italian from my parents and not, like I've been there many times and I used to spend my summers there. Like when they find out that, my family didn't come here in like 1920 or something. Like there's a
Hmm.
different kind of vibe that I bring, and then they kind of inquire further, and then it becomes like a meme. Like I'm the most Italian in the group,
Oh, okay.
in any group I'm in. So they're like, Antonio's actually Italian, and I'm like, it's not like that, but I know what you mean. But so it becomes like kind of a meme like that, and then they're like, well, he has a citizenship, like he's actually Italian, like his whole family lives there, he speaks Italian, like all these things, and it's like these things I just grew up with. It's not like I work towards them. Like my parents just started speaking to me in Italian when I was a kid. Like it's not like I went to school and learned Italian from scratch or something because I rediscovered my culture or something.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
because I have a lot of friends that did that, where they were disconnected from their culture, and then when they discovered it for the first time, they got really into it. They wanted to learn Spanish or Italian or whatever.
Hmm.
So I feel like it's just a unique blessing that I have that they did all the paperwork for me, and I just got naturalized through them, and I learned Italian at a young age, and all of those things. So that's how it affects my life. Is just people see me as the most Italian where I am.
I mean, a passport is for a lot of people a credential too, you know,
That's
like
very true.
it's
Yeah.
you've got that. So like it does kind of give you that status.
hmm That's very true too.
But
Yeah.
it's interesting that you bring up that, you know, for some people it's somewhat of a novelty,
hmm
which can be a good and bad thing, can definitely
hmm
be like exciting to rediscover, or I guess maybe discover for the first time,
hmm
that you have this heritage and that you can be a citizen somewhere else. But for you, it's just kind of like you grew up that way. It's inherent, you know. That's very part, or yeah, it's attached to your core identity, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah.
Um, do you have any ideas for the more distant future about how you might utilize your citizenship? Is it something you've ever thought about in terms of like retiring there one day or going to school there, or you know, I don't know if you've thought about having kids, but you know,
hmm
passing that citizenship on to them. Um, are any of those things that you've considered?
Um, well, I've never had someone ask me about if I wanted my kids to have citizenship. I feel like that would be a natural yes if it was a thing. If I did have kids, I would like if the process is still the same when I have kids,
Hmm.
if I have kids one day, it would be nice to have to pass that citizenship on to them just to have the option of being able to travel in Europe and work there, study there, live there without any kind of like red tape, as it were.
Hmm.
Um, I would like the idea of going to Europe and maybe living there for a while. If I get like a remote opportunity or something like that, just to be able to leave and go live for lower cost of living over there, and do more of the tourist kind of lifestyle that you mentioned, where I can afford myself the kind of ability to travel and discover new places, even in Italy. Um,
Hmm.
I'm not 100% convinced of like. because do have a lot of connections in Italy, and it's difficult to find work there. So I don't think it would be something that long term I would just pick up everything from New York and just move to Italy and say I'm going to become, I work in supply chain, so I'll be a supply chain professional in Italy. Like I have no idea what that looks like. I never even thought about that.
Yeah,
Just because so much of my life, my roots are here, even though I do have family in Italy, but everyone's just doing their own thing, you know?
totally,
So
totally.
it would be kind of difficult. And then my parents would also, I don't know how my parents would feel about me moving back to Italy because then they'd be like, we moved all the way over here and stayed here with you. And now, like, we got to move back? Like, what? Maybe they would secretly like it, actually. Um, but I think the best thing about having an EU citizen passport is just the ability to travel other countries in the EU. And that's a huge benefit that I feel like I've used, but I haven't
Hmm.
like taken advantage of to the fullest extent like some people do or are able to. I think retirement, I know that a lot of expats go to Portugal, Spain, they take their pension and they just like find a nice place on the beach or in the mountains where they can go. I don't see that as being off the table for me, but I feel like I would decide that hopefully with a partner one day.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I
No,
feel like it would be like kind of weird to just. I'm not the type of person to just up and leave and start over by myself. Like I don't. I sometimes I romanticize that idea in my head, but I don't think it's something realistic for me. But definitely want to travel more in the EU in the future because I've only been to Spain, Switzerland, um, Holland, the Netherlands, and Italy. So I haven't really traveled like many cities or countries in Europe. Like I would love to see Paris and Germany and things of that nature. And I feel like that's what the EU citizenship gives you the ability to do with relative ease. You know?
yeah, yeah. That was going to be my next question. So thank you for answering
Yeah, no
where you wanted to go next.
problem.
But I think that's a good point that you bring up about how for you you haven't really considered to with too much
Mhm,
seriousness the possibility of moving there for retirement,
mhm,
because again it's something that it's an option that you have regardless. Like
mhm.
if you could
Very true.
decide in 20-30 years, like, hey, I want to go over there, and that's just something you can do. That's
Mhm.
something that not everybody can just say, like.
That's
so
very true. Yeah.
so that's fantastic. And I think, who knows what'll happen in that amount of time, but it's a cool
Who
option to
knows? Yeah, that's very true. And not to take it for granted as an option either. Um,
have.
you know?
You should think about it more,
Yeah, I'll think about that more. Maybe this call is giving me some ideas.
Good, good. Okay, well, that I think covers most of the things I wanted to talk or ask you about. So thank you so much again for the time, Antonio. It was fantastic. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much, Matt. This was great.
All right. Okay,
Bye.
talk to you later.